By the time a farmer actually notices a wilted leaf on a crop, the battle to save that plant is usually already lost.
Oh, absolutely. By then, it's way too late.
Right. But right now, inside this high-security glowing glass fortress on a Canadian university campus, scientists are actually watching plants fight off future climate disasters in real time,
Mm.
like days before a single leaf ever droops.
It is wild to even think about.
It really is. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are immersing you in a stack of really fascinating sources, mainly texts and audio reports from wikiresidence.ca and infodrone.ca, and we're covering a massive event that just unfolded yesterday, May 8th, 2026.
Just yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, McGill University inaugurated a radically advanced agricultural research facility. This is at their Macdonald Campus in Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue.
And, just to set the stage for you here, I've actually updated my digital backdrop today to this sleek, modern, green tech cityscape.
I see that it looks very sci-fi.
Right. Well, I chose it because we are looking at a structural response to some just overwhelming global pressures right now. I mean, erratic climate shifts, migrating pests, collapsing supply chains.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is. The old agricultural method of simply throwing seeds in the dirt and, hoping for rain, that is entirely obsolete at this point.
Okay, let's unpack this because $48.2 million is a staggering amount of money for what looks, on paper anyway, like a school building. But as you'll see, it's not. Our mission today is to really dig into how this investment is actually a frontline defense for our food supply.
Yeah.
And also a massive shift in real estate strategy.
Yeah, it's a complete game changer.
So let's break down the hardware. Why does a greenhouse cost $48 million? Well, it's split into two main pillars. Pillar one is the teaching greenhouse.
Which is a huge chunk of the budget.
Exactly. It's a $24.4 million project all on its own.
Right.
And breaking that down, $23 million came from the Quebec Ministry of Higher Education, and McGill put in the remaining $1.4 million.
Right.
And this replaces their aging legacy facilities right next to the Raymond Building.
Yeah.
But the sources describe this new setup as having 7 completely independent growing zones. And my mind immediately went to a smart home system on steroids, or honestly, an environmental escape room for plants.
I love that. The escape room analogy is actually a really great starting point, but we can push it much further.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's an escape room where the puzzle involves adjusting to a sudden 3-degree temperature spike while simultaneously fighting off an invasive species of beetle.
Wow. Okay. That's intense.
Right? Because in a traditional greenhouse, you generally manage one macroclimate. If it's humid in one corner, well, the whole building is humid.
Right, because air moves.
Exactly. So the engineering required to isolate 7 adjacent zones is just immense. They have to completely segregate the HVAC, the lighting spectrums with these full LED setups, the humidity controls all without any cross-contamination.
So wait, Zone 1 could be locked into a simulated, multi-week drought, while Zone 2, just a few feet away through a pane of glass, is mimicking the suffocating humidity of a tropical heat wave.
Yeah, exactly that. You are forcing these plants to survive the exact climate models that are predicted for the year 2050.
That is incredible. And the wikiresidence.ca report specifically highlighted this highly sophisticated rainwater harvesting system. And I'll be honest, I originally thought that was just, a green building certification checklist item. Like, oh, we collect rainwater, we're sustainable.
Right, a PR talking point.
Yeah. But there's a serious functional research purpose here, isn't there?
Oh, it is entirely functional. The rainwater system allows researchers to create perfect closed-loop agricultural scenarios.
Closed loop, meaning nothing comes from the outside municipal supply.
Exactly. When we talk about future global water scarcity, we have to understand how to recycle every single drop of moisture inside a controlled facility. They are testing how minerals and fertilizers build up in that recycled water over time.
Oh, because it doesn't just stay pure water forever.
No, it concentrates. And they need to see how that impacts the soil salinity and how the plants chemically react to that very specific environmental stress over multiple generations.
Wow. Which I guess brings us to the second pillar of this massive investment, the Eastern Canada Plant Phenotyping Platform, or ECP3.
The ECP3, yes.
Yeah, and this piece is a $23.8 million initiative jointly funded by the Canada Foundation for Innovation and the Quebec government.
But I have to ask, when I saw the word phenotyping, my mind went straight back to high school biology.
Like Punnett squares.
Yes. Genotype is the hidden genetic code, and phenotype is the physical expression of that code, blue eyes versus brown eyes. But how does that translate into a $24 million machine? Are they just taking, like, really high-resolution photos of leaves?
Well, what's fascinating here is the leap from static observation to dynamic multi-scale imaging. This facility is totally unique in the country. They are not waiting for the leaf to turn brown to see the phenotype in action.
They are using specialized sensors, particularly thermal imaging, to read the plant's real-time metabolic state. So think about how a plant cools itself down. It uses a process called transpiration.
Which is basically like sweating, right? The plant pulls water up from its roots and releases it as vapor through those tiny pores on the leaves.
Stomata, yes.
Right, stomata.
But if a plant is experiencing drought stress, even mildly, the very first thing it does is close those stomata to conserve water.
Makes sense. Keep the water inside.
Exactly. But when it stops transpiring, it stops cooling itself. So its internal temperature begins to spike. And a highly sensitive thermal camera can detect that microfever in the plant days before the physical cellular structure of the leaf actually begins to droop or lose its green color.
So they're essentially diagnosing a microscopic illness based on a thermal signature, long before the human eye could ever see a problem.
Exactly.
That is wild. And the sources also mentioned fluorescence imaging. I'm assuming we aren't talking about black lights and neon posters here, right?
No, definitely not. Chlorophyll fluorescence is incredibly precise. It measures how efficiently a plant is using light for photosynthesis.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, when a photon of light hits a leaf, the energy is basically used for one of three things. It's either used for chemistry, which is photosynthesis, or it's dissipated as heat, or it's re-emitted as light. And that re-emitted light is the fluorescence.
Okay, I'm following.
So if a plant is stressed by, say, a sudden drop in temperature or maybe an invisible toxin in the soil, its photosynthetic machinery gets damaged. It can't use the light energy for chemistry.
Oh, I see. So it has to dump that energy somewhere else.
Exactly. It spits more of it back out as light. These specialized cameras detect that super subtle increase in fluorescence to pinpoint exactly when and how the plant's internal engine starts to fail.
So they're literally reading the plant's metabolic exhaust.
What's a great way to put it? Yeah.
That is unbelievable. And they pair all of this imaging tech with a pest containment facility. The report was very clear on this. We are talking about intentionally bringing dangerous, crop-destroying bugs into a pristine, multi-million-dollar glass house.
Safely bringing them in. That is a massive part of the cost here. You are looking at biosecurity level 3 logic applied directly to agriculture.
Level 3, like what they use for infectious human diseases.
Exactly, because as global temperatures rise, pests that used to freeze and die during the harsh Canadian winter, they're surviving. And they're migrating further north.
Right, and the crops native to Quebec probably have zero evolutionary defense against them.
None. So the researchers used the ECP3 to introduce these novel pests to various plant strains within a completely sealed environment to study plant resilience. We are talking negative air pressure, sealed drainage, specialized airlocks.
Wow.
Because if a foreign pathogen escapes that room, it could devastate local farms. Keeping it perfectly contained while studying the interaction is just an engineering marvel.
Okay, wait, I have to stop you there. This all sounds amazing. But $48 million for physical greenhouses, heavy concrete, complex airlocks. We are living in an era where scientists simulate complex molecular chemistry on quantum computers in the cloud.
Right, I see where you're going with this.
I mean, we can model astrophysics digitally. Why are institutions, and the government for that matter, pouring tens of millions of dollars into physical brick-and-mortar infrastructure? Why not just build a digital twin of a crop, program in the climate data of 2050, run the computer simulation, and just save the $48 million?
It's a fair question, and it's a huge pushback we see in higher education right now. But the answer is that biological reality is far too chaotic for our current computational models.
Really? Even with advanced AI?
Yes. You can simulate physics with extreme accuracy in a vacuum, but a plant's interaction with the millions of microbes in the soil combined with the unpredictable behavior of a live pest and erratic temperature fluctuations, that involves billions of variables.
Too many moving parts.
Exactly. A simulation is only as good as the physical data you feed into it. To get the data to build the digital twins of the future, you still need to physically torture the real plants today. The physical infrastructure isn't a relic of the past, It is the absolute prerequisite for the data of the future.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. The physical space is the data generator. You can't just invent the data from nothing.
Exactly.
And reading through the Infodrone.ca report, this really shifts the value of institutional real estate. I mean,
Yeah.
it's no longer just about building lecture halls. You can get a world-class lecture online right now.
Easily.
Right. It's about providing a technological platform that is utterly impossible to replicate in, say, a private enterprise or a tech startup garage.
Yes, and this is a crucial insight. The physical infrastructure becomes an economic moat for the university. It ensures their relevance, and it physically transforms Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue into a living laboratory for 21st century agriculture.
It anchors them.
Exactly, you are creating a geographic anchor. When you possess the only facility of its kind in the country capable of this multi-scale phenotyping and level 3 pest containment, you exert a massive gravitational pull.
You pull in international talent, the top-tier agronomy researchers,
Yeah.
and crucially, you pull in private investment from the ag tech sector, agricultural technology.
It anchors the entire economy of Montreal's West Island. Think about it. Private agricultural technology companies, specialized fertilizer developers, drone imaging startups, they all desperately need access to this kind of data.
And they can't afford to build a $48 million greenhouse themselves.
Exactly. So they want to partner with the researchers using the ECP3. This real estate investment sparks a localized innovation hub. It solidifies Quebec as a global agronomy leader, simply because the physical tools to do the work exist there and nowhere else in the region.
It's an economic magnet. It's brilliant. But let's bring this back down to the actual human beings walking the floors of this facility. Because we can talk about chlorophyll fluorescence and the millions of dollars all day, but none of this operates without a massive, collaborative human network.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources highlight that this 2026 inauguration isn't an isolated event. It's actually a continuation of a much larger strategy.
Oh, right, the timeline.
Yeah, back in 2024, complementary facilities were built over at the Université de Sherbrooke.
I saw that in the texts. It mentioned that this creates a specialized research corridor between Montreal and the eastern townships, and it's managed through something called the Civiv Center. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, the Civia Center. And that inter-university synergy is really what makes the whole system viable. Because in deep agricultural research, isolated data is useless data. If McGill is simulating a severe drought and studying the thermal response of the leaves, and Sherbrooke is analyzing the corresponding microscopic changes in the soil root microbiome, those massive data sets have to merge seamlessly.
Right, they have to talk to each other.
Exactly. This research corridor guarantees long-term data continuity. Generational problems, like global food security, they require research structures that outlast a single 3-year financial grant cycle or, a single PhD student's tenure at a school.
Speaking of the students, there are hundreds of undergraduates and graduates who will be operating this equipment day in and day out. The wikiresidence.ca piece actually featured a quote from a student, Marianne Lazon-Maron.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
It really was. She pointed out that having access to this specific machinery provides the practical skills necessary to face real-world agricultural challenges. It's not just theory for them.
And bypassing that traditional learning curve is vital for the industry. These students are not just running theoretical models on a whiteboard. They are actively operating the exact closed-loop irrigation systems and thermal imaging tech that the most advanced vertical farms and industrial agricultural conglomerates are currently trying to adopt.
So they're ahead of the curve.
Way ahead. When they graduate, they walk into the workforce already fluent in the technology of 2030. They are immediately deployable.
They are essentially the pilots for tomorrow's food supply. Which, honestly, brings me to the ultimate question for you, the listener. So what does this all mean?
The big question.
Yeah. If you aren't an agriculture student, and if you don't live anywhere near Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue, and if you don't follow commercial real estate trends, why should you care about a glowing $48 million glass fortress?
You should care because of a concept called community resilience.
Okay, break that down for us.
Every single mechanism we've discussed today, the microfever detection, the biosecure pest containment, the escape room stress tests, it all serves one foundational social goal: protecting your grocery basket.
It really just comes down to the price of a tomato, doesn't it? Or the availability of wheat flour or cooking oil.
Exactly. The stability of the global food supply chain is incredibly fragile. We have seen how quickly a single regional drought or a sudden pathogen outbreak can cause the price of basic staples to double almost overnight.
Oh, we've all felt that at the checkout line recently.
Right. So, by using the ECP3 to simulate those future crises right now, researchers are developing crop varieties that can absorb those massive environmental shocks before they even happen in the real world.
They are indirectly ensuring food sovereignty, so that when a global supply chain completely breaks down, the crops grown locally in Quebec and across Canada don't just wither and die in the field, they have already been forged in the fire of that testing facility.
It is a literal scientific insurance policy on our survival. But, it also leaves us with an incredibly provocative reality to confront.
What's that?
Well, this raises an important question. If our leading scientific institutions have to build these highly controlled $48 million climate-proof biospheres with complex airlocks and custom LED spectrums just to figure out how to keep a simple plant alive against emerging pests and extreme heat,
Yeah.
does that mean the everyday farms of the future will eventually have to look exactly like these indoor LED-lit campus laboratories rather than the open fields we're so used to?
Oh, well. Wait, really? Just everything indoors?
It's a possibility we have to consider.
If the open sky and the traditional dirt field become too hostile and unpredictable, farming might eventually have to retreat entirely indoors behind glass and steel. That fundamentally rewrites humanity's entire relationship with nature and our food.
It really does. It changes everything.
That is definitely something to chew on the next time you pick up an apple at the store. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been incredible exploring the mechanics of our future food supply with you. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.